Trading Nut, episode 115.
I don't care about stats. I don't care about any of that. How much money am I making? That's what I care about. And I care about how much money am I risking on a certain thing.
The market's going to do something. Your job is not to fight it.
The market never, ever runs away. It's always there.
That personal diary of trading will make you a much better trader than...
I could be right about the direction, but wrong about the trade.
Don't focus on the monetary side.
Trying to make too much money on a trade is what I have seen killed every trader.
Your losses offer you some of the greatest insight you can find into your mistakes.
Relax, learn the process.
Candlestick pattern trading is a freaking trap.
Don't be in a rush to become a millionaire.
Let the market tell you what the market wants to tell you.
This podcast is not financial, trading, or investing advice of any kind. What's up, traders? Welcome to another installment of the Trading Nut podcast. I'm your host, Cam Hawkins, and today we've got Q Banks on the show. Now, it's taken me ages to get Q on. I know a lot of you guys have asked me to get him on. Finally got him on, and it's an epic interview, followed by what I've got to say is a breakdown of the US30 I've never seen before. So you guys are going to get to see inside Q's method. So all these years of training himself up in the markets, you're going to get to see that broken down on a price chart if you check out the video we shot after this interview. So there'll be another video here on Trading Nut. You'll be able to find links on tradingnut.com or in the show description if you're listening on the podcast. Now, folks, also what's happening here on Trading Nut? Well, we've got Trader versus Trader finals kicking off this week. So semi-finals number 2, final of season 2, kicking off the week after. So guys, you've got to go and check that out. Some fantastic traders over there that you've probably never heard of. We also have a couple of traders you have heard of. We've got Philip Bloom and we've got Kane Fernandez going head to head in their own Trader versus Trader special. We've also have something new coming to Trading Nut in the crypto space. So stay tuned for that. If you're into crypto, if you're holding crypto, if you trade crypto, this will be for you guys. Can't wait to launch that, along with a new logo. I know I've said it's coming. It is still coming. I've got it. I just need to get around to getting it on the site and up on some new Trading Nut merch as well. So guys, that's coming up all here on Trading Nut, as well as my Robot Builders Club. If you're wanting to build semi-automated or fully automated trading robots, then I can teach you how to do that without coding in my Robot Builders Club. You also get about 30 ready-made trading robots to chuck on your testers, your live accounts, your demo accounts, whatever you want to do with it. Tweak them to your heart's content as well. So that's all over there on Trading Nut. Now the price of that's going to go up soon, so I'm giving you a fair warning. If you do want to come on board, now is the time. All right, folks, without further ado, let's get on with this interview with Q Banks. Whether you're a struggling trader or a profitable trader, our sponsor, City Traders Imperium, are offering you the chance to become a fully backed Forex trader. That's right, get coached and funded with CTI today. All right, folks, here we are on Trading Nut. We've got Q Banks, Quillan Black here on the show. Welcome to the show, Q. Great to finally get you on.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Look, it's been a while. As I said sort of before the show, like I've been following your journey, I suppose, for probably 4 or 5 years, when a trader who I had on called Octavian Gibson from Tennessee I said to him, like, who should I get on? Who do you know? And he goes, oh, look, I learned pretty much everything I learned was from Q Banks. Go and look him up. And there was some other guy, I can't remember who the other guy was. So then I followed you on Instagram, and I've sort of been following your journey ever since and be able to sort of track your progress. So it's been fantastic to see that journey and then finally get you on, because I think I must have messaged you about 100 times. And people keep asking, get him on the show. Why don't you get him on the show? I'm like, oh, look, guys, I'm trying. So we finally got you on, which is great. And I suppose what's still missing for me, because I've had other traders come on, like QB Stew and a few other guys, or Druzy Banks, obviously, who you know, who've come on and said...
Yeah, those are all my past students.
Yeah, exactly. They've all said, when I say, where do you learn? And they go, well, I learned from Q. And so I'm like, where the hell did Q learn? So that's what I want to find out today. And because, I mean, I've other things which have sort of stuck with me over your journey, and I'll ask this question a bit later on, is, so I remember... Actually, I'll ask it later on because it's a good question. So let's get on with it and start off by maybe... How did it all begin for you, and all the way up to now? And I'll dive in with a few questions here and there.
All begin as far as trading wise.
As far as trading, I mean, how'd you get into it, and then how did your journey progress from there?
Oh God, story time. So I've been doing this for almost like a decade now, actually, as far as been into the entire trading niche and that kind of stuff. I first explored it when I was doing some stock options back when I was 20 years old. Didn't really take it too seriously, but at the same time, that actually gave me the step into that world, or dealing with like trading and investing and whatnot. So from there, I kind of put it off for a couple of years because I wasn't really taking it as serious. Because I was probably making a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, but nothing really crazy to the point that it makes me want to fully focus on it. So after that, I got fired from one of the jobs that I was working at for a couple of years, and then from there, that actually put me into the space that I need to start making money elsewhere. So I started to look for ways on how to make money online. Came across some affiliate stuff, and then eventually came across people that were trading, and that intrigued me because they were making money like every single day. So at the same time, that's when I kind of explored, into the whole Forex niche and currency trading niche. And after that, I started to like work part-time at Target. And throughout that entire time period, I was trading and working, doing both of those at the same time for about 10 months before I actually quit Target. But throughout the time that I was at Target, I was making some, decent days here and there. But at the same time, it wasn't to the point that I was confident enough to actually quit until certain things happened that actually, made me take that leap of faith and, go that route of fully entrepreneurship. From there, it just, it gave me this like time to just focus on the craft and just, I had 24 hours a day now to actually just like get better and critique myself and fine tune my methodology. And then after that, just pretty much just started to progress, so yeah.
Cool. Well, so just diving back into that journey, and this is what I always find quite intriguing is, how did you, so you obviously did the stock options, which gave you a bit of grounding as like, I'm trading here, I'm on a chart, I know what I'm sort of looking for, the basics. Then you moved to Forex. What was your sort of educational journey in the Forex space? How did you get yourself to a point where you felt confident enough to, that you were making money on a regular basis, and you knew that, well, if I quit now, it's not gambling, I'm doing the right things. What education did you give yourself or go through?
So back then, stock options, like there was no like education. I was just going based off of just like common sense, and there were no charts. I wasn't looking at charts at like 20 years old and whatnot, but I was just looking at numbers, basing things off of that. So when it came to actually charting, when I was about like 23, 24 is when I actually got into, I started actually seeing trading more and whatnot. The education behind it, like we were in a Facebook group. So like a bunch of us we just got added to a Facebook group where people were actually starting to trade and everything like that. Back then, they had, like some simple methods, like it was, market maker method and that kind of stuff, like things that actually, made us get involved into it. Not really making money as far as, it could have been a couple $100s here, a couple $100s there, but it wasn't to the point where I'm at now, making, 4 figures, 5 figures, 6-figure trades and whatnot. So when it came down to it, I feel like just even exploring, a method back then, just any kind of method, it kind of gave you the grasp that, I could actually, make money in some kind of way, but at the same time, a way that they were actually going about it, it wasn't enough for me to, be as consistent as I wanted to be,
Just jumping in here with a quick message from my sponsor, Sage Capital, who provide education software and tools needed to increase anyone's ability to trade more successfully. Perfect for people who are either still learning, too busy, or just want to use professional grade strategies to build passive income. They've achieved high returns with relatively low risk and are available for auto copying today. Go to sagecapital.co.uk and start auto trading today. And so market maker method, trying to apply this stuff, did you have any sort of disastrous times at the beginning where you lost accounts and stuff like that?
Of course. Like numerous accounts blown. I can't even tell you how many accounts blown. It's not even like a thing to even be embarrassed about. It's literally a part of the journey. A like losing an account just says that you either like over leverage or it was like a lack of knowledge or some kind of like that. But at the same time, it could have been, you know, how big was your account size? You know what I'm saying? So it's not even about how many accounts were blown. It was mainly about how many accounts were, well, how much money was lost throughout that entire time period in that learning curve, because it could have been small accounts. It could have been a $10 account or $100 account. But at the same time, I learned that you had to actually have education to actually make the kind of money that you were aspiring to make. So that's when I actually started to study technical analysis on my own, learning Fibonacci on my own, like doing all these technical analysis things that's based on technicals, and just really, really studying that for a good amount of time, because like I was in a space that went through depression, that kind of stuff. So I literally had nothing else to do, you know what I'm saying? So I literally just sat there and just studied my ass off for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks in the house. Like I had friends coming over and leaving and coming back, and I'm in the same place studying. And then, yeah, like, so I would just, you know, read a concept online and then pretty much apply it. Read a concept, apply it, and then pretty much just make it work based on how I understood it. And that's how I slowly built my methodology to like where it is now.
And did you ever sort of get to a point, and this is probably quite specific and maybe quite hard to remember, but get to a point where you were looking at, like, you know, you're trying something out on a chart, you're reading it online, trying it out on a chart, and then going, damn, that's like that level or that line was hit and price reacted to it. So there's something sort of valid in that and what I'm doing. So maybe that's a route I should go down.
Yeah. That was all a part of creating my methodology. Like even when I learned about fibs and like literally reading up on like, you know, the percentages and how other people apply it and whatnot, and seeing how like fully back testing for weeks and weeks and weeks, and like just like seeing how things actually flow based on how I'm applying it, you know, and seeing how they react at certain points, and after that zooming in to kind of like see how the candlestick analysis was playing based on a lower time frame analysis and how it is playing off of a higher time frame technical analysis, and pretty much going like back and forth and playing with all these things just to see like how things actually play off of these certain points that I'm actually drawing on a chart. It could have been trend lines, it could have been horizontal line, it could have been Fibonacci, it could have been candlestick analysis, something, you know what I'm saying? Just like really, really trying to play off on how my technicals are playing a part of the candlestick analysis and structure all at the same time.
Yeah. And what about, I mean, how did you do your back testing back then? Because obviously back testing software's evolved over time, and way back then.
Yeah, I've never had a back testing software. It's literally all on TradingView. You know, like I literally just scroll back in time, or just a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, zoom in, like mark up like an entire month worth of charts and just go about it that way. Like I've never been the kind of person that actually, I've never had, you know, they had a software called Trade Interceptor and stuff like that. I've never really used those because I never really understood the concepts on how it's properly supposed to be used. So I've literally just been on TradingView the entire time and just, you know, practice certain things like plot, and, you know, see how price actually reacts based off of how I'm actually drawing these things on the chart. But I never actually, you know, wanted to, okay, let's rewind all this data, mark it up, and play it again. I've never been that kind of person to really be into that. And I literally stuck on TradingView the entire time and just scroll back and just mark the charts that way, actually. Because I even have certain posts on Instagram, like back then, I showed that I marked up an entire month worth of data, and that alone just helped me being able to actually maintain certain trades, being able to how I'm plotting certain things, how to actually anticipate, you know, certain moves that could be happening into the market based off of what's currently being shown on the chart at a certain time.
Cool. And have you noticed over time? So I mean, like we're talking like 10 years ago, there or thereabouts. Well, that was when you started getting into stock options, wasn't it? So the Forex was a little bit after that. So so have you noticed the market changing or evolving since that time? Do your things still work, or like have you had to adapt them or anything like that?
So the big thing with me that people fail to understand, like I've always been the person to adapt. Like I trade every single week, you know what I'm saying? So like people that actually take time off, hey, like I'm gonna take a couple months off, then you just fucking missed 3 months of data that you could have been adapting to the new market environment. So I've always been in season. Like every single time that every single year, I'm always trading every single season. You know, it doesn't matter if it's January, February, March, April, May, like I don't care because I'm actually always adapting to the market based off of volatility environments and whatnot. So I've never taken time off to the point that I neglected the charts to actually not gain something from it. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that's why I'm so dynamic, you know, till this day, because, you know, I've never taken like time off. I've always, you know, been into the market and actually had to change or, let's say, change my style in certain ways based off of a certain period that I'm trading or something based on how different volatility is in different years. You know what I'm saying? Like, even like back then, I feel like the market was a bit more volatile. Even little things like NFP. Like NFP back then was huge events every single month, but like nowadays, like NFP doesn't really move like as much as it did like in 2014, 2015, 2016. But I mean, I've never taken time off to actually, you know, be stagnant. I've always been able to adapt because I'm trading every single week.
It's funny, yeah, you're right, because I was like, I thought it was NFP last night, because it's usually when I'm asleep that it's happening, and I look back, I'm like, where was it? I can't even see it on the chart now, whereas like back in when I first started trading, it was like, you know, these massive moves and big sort of swings. So so what about, like, what I'm quite interested in is like your note taking, right? Or you're sort of writing down stuff around this information you're finding out on the charts and stuff. How did you collate that? How did you do it? Just from the sort of minutiae of, were you like using a notepad or a Google Doc or whatever?
Bro, I have notebooks right here. Like, I'll show you. I have notebooks on notebooks on notebooks from past. Let me find these things.
Okay, guys, he's just walked off. Or we might just cut this out. We'll see. If you're on watching the video, you can see what he's doing. If you're on the podcast, he's in the back of his room hunting through files here. So
yeah. So these are all notebooks from back then of me just learning about things. It says Fibonacci when I was learning Fibonacci and how to go about things. I don't fucking play, bro. Like when I'm into something, then I'm into something. These are all notebooks from 2014, 2015, 2016 that I've just been writing notes in for years. I don't use them now, but at the same time, that's history. You know what I'm saying? That's history, right?
Yeah, awesome. That's cool because it's quite interesting. Well, A, to be able to see that, and B, that you've actually, that's how you've done it. I mean, because I sort of wonder, like, sometimes my notes are on the paper, sometimes my notes are in Google, and I'm like, how has somebody else done this? So that's quite intriguing. Yeah. So, what I was going to ask, so this was a question I was going to ask at the start of the show, which I'll ask now, which was, so I'm pretty sure that I saw a story or something from yours. This would have been a couple of years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, where you were saying your approach now was sort of like, I put $2,500 in the account at the start of the week. At the end of the week, I withdraw my profits, and then you'll start the week again at $2,500. Is that something you did? Did I get you completely the wrong person? And B, are you still doing it that way?
It's funny that you can ask me that. Okay, so like I started like the top of the week with like $25,000 dollar account. Today I made $22,000. Okay, I withdrew that $22,000 and I'm back at $25,000. So like, you know, I'll just call that, you know, like that's like a 22K week. You know, that's perfectly fine like with me because I didn't really trade like much like this entire week. And then from that point, I just try to keep on doing that. You know, like I have multiple accounts on like on broker that I have. So I have my big accounts that I don't really touch as too often, but then I have, you know, the accounts like, you know, like my 25K one, and like I have a $500,000 account and plus stuff like that. So like for big moves, I'll play with that account, but for fun and for a challenge or for a more of a, let's say, an account that you have to actually apply more knowledge on and more skill on, like I use like my 25K accounts to actually then build up, withdraw, because I feel like that way, like I have to keep my edge in flow versus if I'm trading my bigger account all the time, like I'm not really using my edge too often because it's a bigger account. I'm more flexible with drawdown and that kind of stuff. And even like when I was trading like I have an account, it was a couple months ago, probably like the top of the year. I had like my 1.4 mil account. And I just got real sloppy with it because I was like, yo, this whatever,
Yeah.
And that's when I had to just say, all right, fuck it. Let me just dumb down the account and play that way because I take it more seriously. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And plus there's a lot less risk involved as well.
Yeah. And I now I think about it, maybe I missed out a zero on the 2,500 account and to 20, because I'm pretty sure it was like, I put in 2,500 and I'll take out 25,000, but I think now it's probably more the 25,000 and take out 25,000. Which is a high risk strategy. It's doubling account in a week is pretty high risk, and I think you're doing US30. But I think I may have had a zero missing on that one. Do you want to give us some insight into your trading now? Like, I mean, how many trades are you placing a week to start off with?
Personally, I don't really count. Like, I go based off like the kind of opportunities that the market actually gives to me. Certain days I could take 2-3 trades, like that kind of stuff. There's certain times that I'm in like one particular, all right. So trades, like trade setups, and then there's positions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it could be one position, but one trade, but 4 positions.
Yeah. Gotcha.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So throughout the entire week, like I could probably take about 3 trades, but it could be up to like, let's say 10, 12 positions throughout those entire trades.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I like to scale in. So like, I'll have, it's like a standard based off of 4 entries that I seen valid on that certain trade and capitalize based off of that one trade.
And what markets are you trading these days?
Only US30. Only
US30. Yeah, I thought it was only US30. Yeah.
It's been that way since last year, January. I've strictly only focused on US30. I don't even consider myself a Forex trader anymore because I literally only trade indexes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're a Forex trader, that means Forex means currencies, foreign exchange.
Yeah.
I don't trade those anymore. I literally only trade indexes, so I'm just a trader now.
And so I think my last guest who went live this week was the same. So started off on Forex, now only trades indices and Bitcoin, because not even that. He trades metals. He trades gold and silver and Bitcoin, and it was because the moves are just so much more volatile. So when it goes, and he's like, you just don't get that with Forex. So was there? Yeah. So what was the sort of genesis of you going, right? I'm out of Forex now, definitely.
So I mean, since you've been following me for quite amount of time, back every single like year or every single season, like I would change pairs. Like when I first started, I was trading odd USD for an entire year, and after that, I started focusing on UJ for an entire year. And after that, I started trading, gold for like about 6-7 months. After that, I started trading XRP for a couple months. After that, I started trading GJ for quite a while. So like each and every pair, the volatility just increased because my hunger for just more money, more volatility, it grew, So when I was on GJ, that gave me a good amount of volatility, but it was too much volatility that it wasn't really consistent with how it's flowing throughout the entire chart. So now with US30, it gives me a bit more volatility, but it's a bit more smoother compared to, a currency, because a currency can easily be manipulated and just like all over the place. So when the first time I ever dabbled in US30, I was in California teaching a class. I had some friends online that was trading it, and I was like, yo, let me just dabble inside of it real quick. So I had a $1,000 account. I put on a 0.01 on that $1,000 account, and I made $800 from that one trade. After that, I was like, yo, what the is going on? So I never left. Lots I just started growing, 0.20s, 0.10s, standard lots, 2 lots, all the way up 5 lots, 10 lots. And I never left because it gives me the kind of money that I aspire to make based off of the kind of effort that I'm putting on the chart. So it's one of those pairs that it's the risk to rewards is it can't be compared to a currency. Like it cannot be compared because it pays you out aggressively,
Yeah. And so what about risk to reward? I mean, if you had to look at the stats around your let's say recent trading, I mean, what would you say your win rate and risk to reward would be on a average basis?
The win rate, I don't really pay attention to the win rate much. I mean, I just care about, I can have like one loss, but like I can have one win that makes up that loss times 3 times 4.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really care about stats too much. I care about how much money am I making and how much am I risking? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I care about, honestly. Because like when it comes to a person that's so fixated on, okay, my win percentage is 70%, 60%, that kind of stuff. I feel like they get so lost in trying to actually make it so perfect that they just fuck up and then they just lose track of just like the main motive as to why you're trading in the first place is to make money.
Yeah.
That's what counts. Like even like there's like one person, I forgot his name, but he has the worst win percentage, but I think he made like 5-10 mil a year on trading, but that's because all of his stop losses were so tight, but whenever he had a win, they'll exit out those lost trades by 50, Yeah. So like things like that, I like to focus on because it gets my mind in the main motive as to why I'm trading inside the first place money. So I can have a loss of negative 5,000, negative 5,000, negative 5,000. That's negative $15,000. And then I can have one win that is 35,000, 45,000. So now,
Yeah, and it goes against human psychology as well. And I think that's why a lot of people struggle with trading is because they want the high win rate and they want the high risk to reward rate. But the reality is it's very hard to get both of those. You've got to be some sort of savant to do both.
Yeah, one thing that I feel like that elevated me so much was not caring about the win rate and that kind of stuff like that. I don't even have like portfolios that I even pay attention to because I care about how much money am I making. I don't care about stats. I don't care about any of that. How much money am I making? That's what I care about. And I care about how much money am I risking on a certain trade.
Yeah, and it's ironically talking to some people around funds and stuff who are in the hedge funds, they were saying that the win rate's actually not even a thing. It doesn't. A 20% win rate is fine. They've got no issue with that. It's it's the risk that they've got the major concern with. But the growth and the risk. They don't care about the win rate as long as you make the money and as long as you're controlling risk. That's all they care about. So what about like are you a market order trader or are you a limit order trader?
I don't use pendings. There's only been like a few times that I've ever needed to use pendings, but I'm always market execution because I like to actually be in tune with as to why exactly I'm getting into the market as far as full reasoning as far as candlestick analysis and whatnot versus a person that is doing a pending. It's based off of a price area, but it's not based off of an exact reason as to why they're getting it. It's based off of an area to get in versus an exact area to get in.
And what sort of timeframes are you looking at when you're analyzing your charts, and what's your entry time frame?
I like my areas. So like I like my higher time frame analysis, which is like more, let's say it could be H4, H1. I could actually base my overall momentum off of, let's say, daily, weekly, as far as momentum. I never said anything about an analysis. I'm saying just about momentum, seeing where the overall volume is for that certain pair. Entries, it could be on M5, M15, M30, depending on the kind of conditions. US30 wise, since the risk is a lot higher in a sense, I have to go to a lower time frame, which could be M5 or even at times M1. But at the same time, my overall analysis is based on like my higher time frame analysis, which could be based off of H1, H4. So I have my overall market direction, but when it comes time for entries and whatnot, I have to actually scale down to a time frame that actually can make my risk to reward actually make sense. So my risk is based on my lower time frames. My overall rewards are based off of like my higher time frames. Cool. That's how I actually look at it.
Cool. And look, I mean, so following your Instagram, and it's there's a lot going on in your life. You can see that. How does your trading fit into your lifestyle, and how do you what's your typical trading day look like?
Trading is what I do. You know what I'm saying? That's just like it's a part of all of this. It's one of my money makers. It's like one of those things that makes everything possible. So I have to make time for it. Even when I'm super busy during the entire day, like I have to still put a time aside to actually trade because, that's what I've been doing. Like that's what my life is actually based around. It could be, operating on Wall Street Academy. It could be trading like for like my own self. It could be, just doing things that's meet and greets and people talking to me about trading. Like, so it's based around all that stuff. But like nowadays, I choose to be busy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not naturally busy. Like I could be at home all day and not do anything, but at the same time, I choose to actually go out and try to do stuff and do events and, try to just get outside, because when people are just so fixated on trading, you miss a lot of life, because you miss a lot of times out of the day. There's even on certain times that I have to just, let's say, put off trading for a couple of days or put off trading for like a week because I had to just get back out there into the world, get back out there active, because trading is literally like it sucks you in. It sucks you in. You want to be around it. You want to actually talk about it all the time. When nowadays, if I have some friends over, trading is literally the last thing that we ever talk about, because it's business. It's business. It's work. So I treat work as work, and whenever I'm outside, I have fun. I have other interests than just trading. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, I still make time to trade because, that's how I could modify all of my cars and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's how I could buy cars and that kind of stuff. So like, if I ever want to buy a car, I have to trade to buy the car. Versus just going into my bank account and just taking out money. I like to actually earn it by building an account to actually get that certain car or get those certain parts, because it makes me feel like I'm earning it versus just being able to just get it.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, what do you think made you different way back in the beginning from the average trader? And look, you would have had tons of guys go through your course and your 5-day whatever boot camp and stuff. So what do you think made you different from, I suppose, what as the sort of typical mum or dad retail trader out there?
Like what made me stand out?
Well, what made you get to the point where you can regularly take out cash from your trading account and withdraw and use that cash to survive and thrive and all that sort of stuff?
I've always been super smart with my investments and super ambitious. A lot of people, they fail to realize, people can actually get really good at stuff that they focus on, like little things like that. Like a person can get really good once they're focused on a certain craft and once they're passionate about it. Some people fail to realize that, and as to why they listen to everybody else. That's not real. That's not real. That's not real. But at the same time, in the background, you're studying all night. You're studying all day. You're on the charts. You're on the charts. Like you're putting a lot of time in to be able to reap those rewards that you're actually craving. And that's what I've always been about. I've always been about the work part of it, because the craft is one thing that you have to focus on for a good amount of time to actually be able to make it second nature. Like nowadays, it's more second nature because I don't have to study as much anymore, because I understand my methodology. I understand my workflow. I understand all that stuff to the point that now I could just trade whenever I want to, but also reap the benefits without having to actually bust my ass and studying and doing all that hard work like how I used to do. So I've always been able to do that. And when it came down to actually being able to get money or having big days, I've always transitioned that into other investments. It could have been cryptos at one point. It could have been, being able to trade other markets, being able to trade outside investments other than trading, like doing all these other things with money that I'm making made everything possible, versus just keeping everything into a broker account to have a huge account. Eventually you'll have a huge account, but you have to be able to, diverse that money in many ways, and being able to actually, have other skills than just trading to actually be able to grow your money.
What are your views on trade or new traders withdrawing funds from their account? I mean, what are your sort of recommendations in that space?
So I have one of the things that I always tell people, ever since I had my first, what I consider my big week back then was I made $30,000 in 1 week, and I was ecstatic. That felt like $1 million to me, and I literally put everything I withdrew everything. I put everything on auto pay for an entire year. So that $30,000 paid off my entire 2017 expenses as far as like, rent and car payment, all those stuff. So that gave me time to just focus on just trading, so like now I wasn't worried about, rent and like all these other things. So like that was like one of like my biggest breaking points too, because I had nothing but time to just focus on studying and just getting better at a certain craft and grinding and not have to worry about bills. So like, I always recommend people to just, all your big days put aside, put all of your expenses on auto pay so you have more time to focus on what you want to do. That's like one huge like recommendation, and pay yourself out. Like don't worry about building a huge ass account because that only matters only so much. Like enjoy the fruits of your labor. Like if you made, let's say like $500 this week, okay, pay a bill with it. Like withdraw some money and pay a bill with it so you could actually feel the fact that you're working for a reason, or like you're trading for a reason, you're analyzing for a reason, versus just having everything inside your account and keeping it digital versus actually making it physical. That way you actually feel like, damn, like this thing really does work. Because my first I had like a big week like back in 2015. I had in April I made my first $1,000 a day, and I withdrew that $1,000 and I bought a MacBook. So that MacBook elevated me because that's something that I really wanted, and I felt the work that I'm putting in get put to use.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was able to buy something based off the work that I'm putting on the charts all that week versus a person that's keeping it inside their account and not feeling anything,
Yeah. Cool. It's interesting, because I'd never really used to ask this question, but the last few guests I've had have all recommended withdraw something, just withdraw whatever you like, even if it's a small amount, just withdraw it. Yeah, just to make it, just to understand that this isn't fictitious money. This is real money that you can actually use.
Sure.
So what about if you're a retail trader working a day job? What steps would you recommend they start to take to start growing an account?
So if you're still working a job, I always say like, people always say, oh, I don't have enough time in a day. And then I always say, it's 24 hours in a day. How bad do you want it? Like when I was working at Target, like I don't make excuses. Like I don't have enough time. Like, no, like I'm either putting some time in at work, even though me being at work wasn't my time to grow as a person. It was their time to grow as a business. I still took certain time to actually, put in that a little bit of work that I could. It could have been on break, but especially after work is when I'm up all night. I'm working, I'm trading, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, because I don't care about me being tired based off of work. Like I know that it's still some hours inside the day and I could actually still study and grind regardless of if I'm tired or not. So don't make the excuse that, you don't have enough time. You definitely have enough time. You just care about your sleep way too much to actually, put aside that time to put towards something that could actually make you productive,
Thinking about a price chart, what 3 things would you recommend somebody jump in and go start studying for say a month?
Like 3 things that they should study?
Yeah, so if they're looking at charts, what 3 things do you reckon they should go away and study?
So I have a lot more things than that, but like it's like about 8, 9 things that I tell all of my students. Actually, you have to be sufficient enough to actually become a trader. Like what I consider a good trader, like it's like about 8, 9 things that they would have to actually be sufficient at. But some things that I'll probably just name 3. Some things that they have to be sufficient at is candlestick analysis. Candlestick analysis is super important because at the same time, you're understanding the full anatomy of a candle as to why it's forming certain kind of way, what exactly it means, why it formed that kind of way, and how that could affect the next price movement based off it forming that certain kind of way. Next thing could be structure. You have to understand the overall market flow on how it pretty much flows based off of an overall uptrend, downtrend, consolidation zones. Like you have to pretty much understand how the flow of the market actually is determined, because at the same time, that's pretty much the flow of every single market, and every single market is going to flow a little bit different. So you have to pretty much know the market that you're focused on enough to understand how it's changing, when it's pretty much transitioning, all these things for that certain period that you're focused Last thing I would say, you have to understand how to scale, and how to actually, take advantage of certain trades. Some people actually, they look for trades all day versus just looking for one trade in particular. It could have been like a trade based off of like the H4, H1, but at the same time, there could have been so many entry opportunities on lower time frames that pretty much plays a part of that overall direction bias of that higher time frame that, all you needed throughout the entire week was that one trade. But at the same time, you could have took like 4 or 5 positions and scaled them throughout that entire trade versus actually craving to find more trades. All you need is one trade to actually fully capitalize from, but you have to be able to, understand that and being able to scale in that certain trade to then capitalize based off of that one move versus looking for new moves every single time.
Yeah. Cool. Makes sense. Now, thinking about a trader's mindset, do you have any special techniques you can share with us?
A trader's mindset wise?
Yeah, just how can they get there? Any techniques that can help get somebody's mindset in the right frame of mind for trading?
Right mindset. I feel like don't compare yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like that's probably the biggest thing. Like this, don't compare yourself. Like just focus on just you, because at the same time, like I've seen, like I had showed my brother this like last night, like the first person that I seen started making like $10,000 or $14,000 a day and that kind of stuff. The first person I started seeing doing that, I seen that then it was possible. But I never compared myself as to, like, how come I'm not doing that and stuff like that. But at the same time, 4 or 5 years later, I'm doing that plus more. You know what I'm saying? And I never ever looked myself as less or that I couldn't do it. And I just pretty much just understood like my own journey, and I just never try to actually, force that based off of me seeing what somebody else is doing. So like you have to put yourself inside that mindset, like, you're on your own journey, your own progress, it's your own rate, on your own pace. All that stuff is pretty much you. And just focus on just you, not comparing yourself to, like, did you see what this person made? Let me try to do that on that same trade, and then your entire account, but mainly your entire psychology.
Yeah.
Versus just going at your own pace. You won't actually ever overstep your boundaries because you know your capabilities and like how far you could actually push your limits versus just trying to actually base your limits off of what somebody else is doing.
Yeah, it's a great answer. Look, it's a great answer. Don't compare yourself to other people, because I swear I must have done that. I don't know how many times back in the day. Like, how come that guy's got this trade, and then I'm like, right, I'm gonna do the same thing. Screws you up every single
time. Don't do that.
Yeah,
don't do that.
No. If there was one thing you'd recommend any retail trader spend the next month mastering, what would it be?
The one thing that people lack the most is the knowledge on candlestick analysis. Honestly, like that's just, I feel like that alone gives you a super edge, because now you understand the market more in depth versus just looking at the overall picture. Now you understand the full details of what makes up that overall picture. So versus you just understanding the overall picture, you're now understanding what makes up that overall picture. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you understanding that milliseconds equals years. Put it that way. Do you understand that?
Do I? Milliseconds equals yeah. Yep.
So like you're understanding that based on time, the smallest thing makes up the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But a person that doesn't understand the smallest thing, they wouldn't understand why it adds up to eventually go to the biggest thing. Because remember, there's milliseconds, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, years, months. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things that build up to this huge thing. So if you can't understand the foundation as to what makes it that huge thing, then you don't fully understand it.
Yeah.
So it's like just fully understanding the full details of the charts to then be able to, have that swag or have that edge compared to everybody else, Yeah. So those are things that I've always focused on. That's why, like whenever I talk about trading and everything else, I get deep with it because that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I see it. And I mean, that's why I make the kind of money I make in trading, because that's how I see it, So just be open to, getting deeper into the craft and the details as to what makes up the bigger picture versus just being so complacent with what you already know, you know?
Yeah. And it's good. It's a good point because it reminds me of when I first learned to build websites, which was many, many years ago. And I went to a course, and the first thing the guy told me was, this is a pixel. And so he taught us the pixel, right? And as soon as you know the pixel, everything falls out from that, right? So it's so much easier to understand how the entire website is built once you know the pixel. So there's a sort of similar analogy. So, right, we're going to jump into the quick fire round here. 4 or 5 questions here. Some of them might not be that quick to answer, but hey, it is what it is. How long did it take you to go from newbie to consistently profitable?
I don't like to put a time. Like me, it took, I feel like I became a bit more consistent like around the 6th or 7th month. I actually started getting like into positives and whatnot. But I wouldn't say, you know, don't take my number and make it your number. You know, like your number is going to be your number. My number is going to be my number based on my level of comprehension, my level on being able to understand the information that I'm learning, but also being able to actually apply it like how I comprehend it. It's kind of like saying, if you go into a math class, you're not going to be the person that everyone in that math class is not going to be on the same rate. One person is going to treat this like, yo, this is second nature, versus some people it's going to take a bit more to comprehend it. So I never ever tell a person like, yo, like just in 6-7 months, you'll get it. At times it might take longer. You know, it depends on how they process the information to then be able to actually, you know, then take full advantage of the information, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah. So don't stress out, guys. If you're not 6 or 7 months, you're joining my club because I'm way over that. Yeah.
Remember,
so what's your favorite entry setup?
So the thing is, I don't have one in particular, because at the same time, I like to adapt a lot. If I had just one favorite one, then I'll be, you know, super biased as to like, you know, what I'm willing to trade. But at the same time, like there's so many different ways on how I entered the market based off of certain setups, and being able to actually, you know, read certain setups and pretty much see the possibilities to actually enter a certain trade. But I mean, like when I go over the charts, like I'll go over like some things I actually, you know, caught. And but I don't have like one setup in particular that I'm like super obsessed with, because I adapt and I actually, you know, I'm always all over the place. But I'm very, very open to how the markets flow, and I'm not going to be, let's say, I don't discriminate from certain setups. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just if it looks good, I take it full advantage of it. But I'm not gonna chase one setup in particular to actually trade it. You know? Okay,
cool. So what about strategies to exit or manage trades?
Exits. I love exiting based off of like my fibs. So like my fibs are based off of, at times it could give me a preset stop loss. At times it could give me my projection levels. So when it comes to projections, I use my fibs, negative 27% or negative 61.8% as like my TP1, TP2. So that's how I actually base, you know, my exits off a lot of times, and like that actually makes me control my greed as well. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and it could be that. It could be based off exhaustion zones and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. And what about your preferred broker and trading platform?
The broker that I use now, I've been using for about almost not 2 years, probably been like a year and a half. I use KOT Forex. You know, they just, you know, offer, you know, Bitcoin deposits. Everything is smooth. The customer service is smooth. The platform, from what I experienced, you know, so I haven't really had many issues. So since you know, I have a lot of money into like my accounts, and I have no issues, like that's all that I look for inside a broker. You know, like good deposits, good spreads, good assets to trade, good customer service, and yeah, they offer that. So I'm chilling.
Cool. And do you want to walk us through your worst ever trade?
Huh?
Your worst ever trade. Do you want to walk us through that?
My worst ever trade, I lost like 250 actually. But it's like, I mean, I lost 250 in like a day, but the risk to reward was pretty good. You know, I had about like 40 lots on US30, and I was aiming to make like around 600,000. You know, so me losing 250, like it's a good risk reward still, but at the same time, like it made sense as to like, okay, I'm aiming for this, but at the same time, I have to be able to risk this right here. So like whenever I do 10 lots on US30, I'm risking 100,000. But since it was a lot less than what 40 lots risk reward was based off of 10 lots, 250 was I'm definitely decent to actually lose versus losing 400,000. I lost 250, but I was aiming for a lot higher than that. So yeah, it was worth it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And if you could leave our listeners with one piece of advice, what would it be?
Set time aside to fall in love with the craft. That's probably like one of the biggest things, don't just set a time a day to study or set amount of time that you want to study every single day. Like, if you're into it, you're going to study nonstop and not care about, oh shit, it's 2-3 o'clock. I have to go to bed. If you're awake, then you're awake. Study, so like once you're passionate about that certain craft, then you're not going to put a time limit on how much time it takes to actually comprehend the craft. You're going to keep on going.
Yeah. And
I feel like you have to have that kind of attitude, because if you don't, then you're that person that's pretty much going to be spending a lot more time and forcing yourself to like it versus falling in love with it based off of the capabilities of it, because the capabilities are endless. Like it's literally a tool that is giving you the opportunity to make a lot of money every single day. It's not a guarantee, but it's giving you the opportunity to make a lot of money every single day. And once you understand that, it doesn't make sense to slow down or to quit, because it's literally all upside potential once you're willing to put in the work. Work like this, work like this, full of notes and that kind of stuff. Like once you're willing to actually go that route, then I feel like, the possibilities are endless.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, look, before you wrap up, what's the best way for the guys to get hold of you?
My main platform, which is on Instagram at Qbanks, Cuebanks. That's it. There's no underscores. There's no periods, because I have a lot of fake accounts, a lot of fake accounts. I only have one account at Qbanks, and that's it. So that platform, I post all of my content, stories, everything else, and that's definitely the best way on how to contact me now.
Brilliant. Well, look, a big thank you to Q for sharing with us today. Everything we've discussed here, along with all those links, are going to be in the show notes. To find them, simply search for Qbanks in the search box on tradingnut.com. Until next time, I wish all my listeners trading happiness and success. So there you have it, folks. Interview with Qbanks done and dusted. Now, do remember to head over to the YouTube channel. Check out the video we shot after the show. It is epic. It's a must watch. Okay, got to go and check that out. Also, Trader versus Trader finals. Check those out. The specials. Check those out. And stay tuned for the new stuff happening in the crypto space. The logo, the merch. And if you want to get on board with my Robot Builders Club, now is the best time before the price increases. See you in the next one.